On this week's episode.
Tell me more!
Come up here, Myers. See that helicopter?
Drive it.
You ain't going to believe this. I go, what? And he goes,
Jerry's here.
So I put my name in the hat, to that I wanted that position.
Was there an actual hat?
There was, yeah. It was camouflaged. It was hard to see.
Yeah, he missed it, but he's the only one that put a tab near the hat.
They had to throw it
Closest to the pin.
They had to throw.
It's like, it's right here, right? And they're like, well, you got the closest.
They had to throw a black smoke
At night.
There you go.
He says, "All right, I'll wait here in case you need backup."
Hop in your helicopter.
I said, "Okay, Jerry."
Welcome back to the Rise of Basic Men. I'm Joey, flanked by my wingmen Chris and David. Today we're amping up a special Veterans Day with a titan of a guest. He's a warrior and a leader by day, and the bedrock of the Myers clan by night. From Marine to Command Sergeant Major, from the front lines to the home front, he's lived a saga of valor and heart. Buckle up as we roll out the red carpet for a living legend and my personal hero, my dad, Allan Myers.
Hey.
Woo. Welcome.
Oh, wow.
Welcome.
Jeez, I hope I'm worthy of that introduction.
You will be. You will be. Well, welcome to the show. And I guess before we jump in, we got now 3 bottles of whiskey on the table.
You said amped it up. We definitely amped up the whiskey consumption, at least the choice.
I hope he survived this episode. Right.
I got a DD, so.
Yeah. He's not driving, everybody. So
what we got here today is we got Angel's Envy.
Angel's Envy.
Very delicious.
Very
we
delicious.
have the tried and true Maker's Mark. And then Allan brought his favorite Woodford Reserve, which is another very good one. Yes.
So who's drinking what? I got Angel's Envy.
I'm
Same
drinking
as David.
Angels.
You're drinking Angels.
Makers.
You got Makers. Okay.
Oh,
And if we're feeling froggy, we might open the Woodford, I think.
I think yeah. Once we get a little bit further in, we'll open up that Woodford, and
It's about 12 minutes from
yeah,
now.
probably 12 minutes from now. Yeah.
Well, let's raise our glasses, guys.
Let's do a cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome to the show.
Here, here.
You're here. Ooh. Once it hits the lips. Once it hits the lips. It's so good. Well, so today's episode, Dad, we wanted to understand a little bit more of your career in the military, how it began, what interested you, stories that might have been awesome for you, maybe not so much, and how you made it to the end of retirement, right? And hopefully anybody that's interested in military, maybe going down this path or just interested in learning more about this career, hopefully this might be a door that can open for you and understand a little bit more. So I guess starting from the beginning here, what you first joined the Marines, correct?
Correct. Right out of high school in 1976.
Okay. So what inspired you to join the Marines right out of high school then?
So having been a child born in the 50s, World War II was not that far off.
Mm-hmm.
Korea was not that far off. It was a big deal to be a soldier. We always played Army, always played Cowboys. So my grandfather was a World War II veteran. He volunteered to join the Army with 4 kids at home. I think my mother was next to the youngest, and she was about 8. My father joined the Marines and fought in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of an inspiration. It was always in the back of my mind. So junior year, we start hanging out with the Marine Corps recruiters.
Just hanging out?
Just hanging out.
Just grabbing a beer?
Yep. Drinking age was 18. It was motivating for us. Never really had any intentions of, signing that paperwork. So one day I walked into I had actually signed up. I wanted to be an auto mechanic.
Okay.
I was what I wanted to do. I had the tool set. I had a reservation at a technical college. And I walked into the recruiter and they said, "Hey, your buddy Jerry signed up." I said, he did? Yeah, he did. Oh, when's he going? Well, a couple months. I said, oh. I said, well, what are you going to do about it? I said, well, get the damn paperwork out. I'll sign.
Let's do it.
Not letting Jerry show me up here.
Yeah, exactly.
And not to be outdone.
Yeah.
Glad he didn't jump off a cliff. So they were kind of stunned. But I said, what the hell? You know? So I went ahead and signed that paperwork. About that time, Jerry walked in. And they go, hey, Jerry, Al just signed up to join the Marines. What are you going to do?
Shut up.
Pull a fast one on you.
Oh, man.
And I go, you sons of bitches. So there he is sitting there with his, you know what, in his hand. And they said, well, here's your paperwork. So they signed both of us up that afternoon.
The oldest sales trick in the book.
Yeah. Welcome to the world.
Yeah.
You're getting screwed from the moment you're in it. Dang.
So,
okay.
You know, it was one of those things to where, you know, I think they knew we needed a push.
Right.
And they knew we wanted to do it. And, you know, my dad was proud. My mom she cried. 1975, Vietnam ended.
Right.
So I graduated in 76. So we were not in Vietnam. So the threat of war was not there.
Yeah.
So that was one positive.
Bittersweet right there.
Yeah. You know, so we're out of there. But I thought, you know what, this is, you know, my goal was to be a 20-year Marine. I mean, I wanted to do that.
Sure.
And, so that's kind of how it started.
Well, can you explain a little bit about like the day you left to boot camp then? Do you remember?
Oh gosh, yeah, I remember that. So I had gone to Lake Okoboji in northern Iowa with my girlfriend, kind of have a going away party. So I had to be in another town, Boone, Iowa, so I could leave from there and go to the airport in Des Moines. So I said goodbye to her. She drove off, and it was sad, you know, boo-hoo. And I walked into the recruiter's office, and he says, you ain't going to believe this. And I go, what? And he goes,
Jerry's here.
Jerry's not going.
Yeah.
He backed out. But he said what happened is they postponed it, so you got to wait another day.
Oh, man.
I'm like, oh, come on, guys. So my girlfriend had already left. My car had already been parked. It's like, okay, well, where am I staying tonight? You know, we'll put you up in a hotel and we'll pick you up in the morning. And, you know, it was all coordinated, you know, so, you know, what's one day in the life, you know, you have no idea what's going on. And, so yeah, that next morning we get up like 0:30, go get something to eat at IHOP or whatever. And on the airplane, next thing you know, I'm in California.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, holy crap.
Did you have to go through like physical, like when I went through, you know, go through MEPS and then you go through all this, get your shots, you know, make sure you're good to go. Is that anything that you experienced as well too, once you got somewhere?
I did. I actually had done that before. Once you sign the paperwork, then you go to MEPS and you get your physical, and then you swear in. You go to basic training. I remember it coming in on the bus. I don't know what time it was, 5 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock at night. And the idea is to disorient you, to beat you down right away. So they're saying, anybody's got cigarettes, they better get rid of them now. So everybody's throwing their cigarettes out the bus windows.
Start smoking them.
Yeah, smoke them if you got them.
So we get on this bus, and the guy goes screaming around from the airport over to the base, which was, you know, probably a 10-minute ride. And you stand on the yellow footprints, and they start yelling and screaming at you, you know, and without a doubt, the first thing they do is you walk into the barber shop, and it's like the 20-second haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were showing us pictures from when you graduated high school, and you had this long flowing hair. It was
Luscious locks.
Real luscious locks. Yeah, it was nice. And then you showed us right after, I guess, the graduation of basic training, and nothing. You look completely different.
Yeah, and let me tell you how hard it is to sleep with stubby hair.
Yeah.
So we're right next to an airport, the San Diego airport. You got this stubby hair. You're trying to sleep, and every time you turn your head, it bristles. And you're just scared to death.
Yeah. Scared, nervous.
You have no idea what's going to happen to you. You know, next thing you know, you're in they put you to organize you, and they try and give you some guidance and show you how to, and you get issued. We had gotten issued our clothes the night before. So it was like 3:00 in the morning before we got to bed.
Yeah.
And then you go eat. Of course, you don't know. And you don't know you almost had to put tape on one hand so you know which one was left and right. I mean, it was, of course, there's always the Gomer pile in the group, that gets everybody. But, so it takes a while to form up and become what they call a unit.
Right.
There's a lot of ignorance because you just don't know the military ways. So.
Was there anything that stood out to you during your time there that was maybe overboard from the drill instructors? Did anything happen where you're like, oh man, there's no law here?
So the one thing that stands out was remember 1976. So we get in there, we're standing in a formation, and the drill instructor says, well, just got news from up above. We can't hit you anymore.
Anymore?
like some bitch. That's good to know.
The guy with two black eyes. He's like, yeah.
They couldn't do that yesterday.
Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't here yesterday. I'm like, well, God, that's a relief, But so yeah, even in basic training, everything was so rudimentary. We didn't even have washing machines. So you had a scrub brush and a bar of soap.
Oh wow!
And that's how you wash your clothes.
That's kind of what I was interested in a little bit, was like the difference in your basic training versus Joey's basic training, because we had a whole episode about his military career and life, and it's two completely different eras. Because I feel like when you went through I don't want to say nicer and easier, but I feel like back in the 70s it was probably a lot more rough.
There's probably more laws or things in place now,
right,
to prevent the craziness of what it was at one point throughout the years.
They just passed a law like not to hit them the day before he got there. Like
I've seen someone literally drop kick somebody. So yeah, I mean,
Did you drop kick somebody?
I didn't. Drill sergeant did. It was crazy.
It was, but yeah. So those are the things, just the little things, and being accountable, like locking your foot locker or locking your weapon up. The biggest taboo you could ever do was leave your weapon unguarded.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because you can only do so many push-ups, but that drill instructor will make you do 1,000 push-ups in the sand. So that's how you learn to not make the same mistake more than once.
Yeah. Was there any crazy thing that happened to somebody besides just push-ups? Did anyone have to do anything, a little out there in terms of disciplinary action?
Not that I remember. Normally what happened with us is when one person, I can still remember his name, Miramontes. Every time Miramontes screwed up, the whole platoon had to pay. So we did an exercise called, I think it was mountain climbers.
Yeah.
So you would get in a crouching position, put your hands down, and then you pretend like you were riding a bike.
Yeah.
So that sand would come back in your face, in your mouth.
Oh, yeah.
So after a couple of weeks, Miramontes was not very well liked.
Sure.
So I can remember the drill instructor having me watch a door while they brought Miramontes into the shower, and they disobeyed that order that I had spoke of earlier.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I heard him grunt a few times, but we were tired of it, but the drill instructor took that initiative, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's what happened.
Yeah.
They took a bunch of bars of soap and some socks and just wailed on them, or
I didn't see it. It was kind of like this, I don't
covering your eyes.
Yeah. You put on some horse blinders. You're like, I can only see forward. I don't care what's going on back there. They told me to look that way.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
So did he continue to mess up?
Not as much.
Okay.
It sounds like he's still kind of a crappy recruit, but
well, sometimes you need a big stick to get somebody's attention. I guess
that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Well, you mentioned too that you were part of you were an honor graduate in basic.
I was. I have no idea what was going on, and like day one, they go, you're my guide. I go, okay. Okay. What's a guide? So then the learning process comes in. They show you. So you have a guide on, which is a big stick with a flag on it. And then there's a manual of arms that I had to learn, but I was the lead guy in the platoon when we marched. And I was the platoon representative.
Yeah, the guide on. Yeah. A buddy of mine, he went to Texas A&M, and he was in the Corps at A&M, and that was like a big prestigious position, was to be the guide on, and he was that for at least 1 year, maybe a couple of years, but yeah, he was that, and that was like a point of pride for him. I remember that.
Yeah, it is. So like a lot of times they'd say, okay, guides front and center. So the guides would all come together. There was 4 platoons. There was like 83 people in my platoon. So I was the representative of that platoon. And then I got fired after a couple weeks. So I'm like, okay, I got fired, so what, Well, then they fired that guy after about a week, and they hired me back, or not hired me, but appointed me back as the guide. And I stayed there for the next 12 weeks or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And then I was presented with a set of Marine Corps dress blues and a promotion. So I got my first promotion and received the honor grad.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Was there anything in basic that stood out that was just really fun to you?
Well, we talked about running and physical fitness and stuff. I was always pretty physically fit. So we would go run the fence by the runway and put on our boots and our T-shirt, and down we go and come back. And then we'd come back and run the obstacle course. And of course, you're jumping over logs and stuff, and then climbing ropes. To climb a rope that's 30 feet tall is kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
And then the hardest thing that I thought to do was we had a telephone pole. Of course, the telephone pole is usually bigger at one end than it is the other end. Mm-hmm. It's telescoping. Everybody would take, and you put that telephone pole in your lap, and then you do sit-ups.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
With this telephone pole, well, what they didn't realize is if somebody with a big chest was on the big end, all that pressure hit him.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, oh, God, shit, oh, God. So the physical fitness aspect of it, I really enjoyed. And then, of course, the rifle marksmanship, that was fun.
Love it. I feel like during my time, there's always that change of mindset from the first day from, you have so much confidence now. You feel stronger mentally, physically, all these things. Is there anything that stood out to you from maybe day one to some of the final days in terms of a transition that took place with you?
I think initially it's a transition from civilian to military, and the knowledge you have, graduate basic training is a thimbleful. You think you're really hot shit.
Yeah.
And then you get into the Fleet Marine Force, which I went to Okinawa after basic training. Well, now you're working. This is the real deal. So you're digging that fighting position. You're landing helicopters. You're assaulting from a helicopter. You're maybe shooting at night. There's artillery. So you're training as you fight.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's not you're not in basic training anymore. This is, point of phrase, you're not in Kansas anymore. This is the real deal. So.
Right.
So after basic, where was your first station after basic then?
Camp Schwab, Okinawa.
Okinawa. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So you first hear that you're going to Okinawa. What do you do?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Do you try to learn the language?
Yeah.
Well, I know I'm not going to learn the language, but I'm like, holy shit, where's Okinawa? So you look it up and kind of, get a little history on it. Of course, there was no internet, so it had to be.
Bring out the encyclopedia.
Yeah.
The World
Actually,
Atlas.
I think I did. I think
the World Atlas.
I actually think I went to the library and got an encyclopedia and looked up Okinawa and found out that it was a Allied base during World War II. So
Dang.
Americans had been there. But it was funny because when we got there, they coming in on the bus, and they're like, hey, fuck you, newbie. Hey, fuck you, newbie. And I'm like, hey, what's a newbie? The bus driver goes, you fucking newbie.
FNG.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, was there a lot of hazing that happened being the new guy coming in?
There was hazing if you allowed it.
Oh.
So if they would say like, okay, Myers, go up to the supply room and get some black smoke for the night attack. Or I need a box of grid squares. If you weren't thinking, you'd go to the gunnery, the senior NCO there and say, hey, Gunny, I need some black smoke for the night attack. Well, then he'd chew your ass, and then you go back and go, well, you just made a fool of.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I remember after I climatized, I got there in February, so it was kind of cold, but they still climatize you. I got ready to go to the field, and my squad leader, so my name is Allan David Myers, and his name was David Allan Myers.
Totally not confusing.
So I'm getting ready to go to the field, and he says, I'm going to inspect your pack before you go. Because we'd go to the field for 3-4 days at a time.
And why would anyone inspect your pack, your rucksack or your pack?
Well, so he inspected my pack to make sure I didn't have like 6 tubes of toothpaste and no socks.
Sure.
To make sure I had the essentials, because he had the experience.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like TV. He'd come up to me and he'd say, yep, you don't need 4 sets of underwear. You don't even wear underwear to the field, but you need 4 more pair of socks. You need a couple more T-shirts. And he went through that. So he took all the stuff I didn't need out, told me what I needed so I could survive in the field, like bug dope, to get insect repellent was big, was huge.
Right. So are the guys that are your NCOs, all the people that have been there for a while, are these guys that were in Vietnam and they're still in the military and kind of like bringing in the new crop of people, or?
Maybe not so much at the platoon level, but at the next leadership level,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm at the E3 rank,
Mm-hmm.
at the E7, E8 rank. Those were the guys that were in the Vietnam era.
Okay.
My platoon sergeant was a Vietnam veteran.
Okay.
But most of the guys that as low ranking enlisted guys, they had just really been in like a year or so.
Right. And by then the war had been over, 2-3 years?
See, I got to Okinawa in 1977. So yeah, about a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So yeah. And there was always talk about, first off, you were a Marine. Okay. That was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then if you were an Okinawa Marine, that was even a bigger deal. So that was like the cream of.
Why is that?
I think it's because it was jungle, trained in the jungle, and you were deemed more hardcore.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess.
I guess closer to conflict maybe back then. Yeah.
That could be. Yeah, that's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
So so you just kind of take it all in stride. You just learn your thing, and you get up at 5 a.m, go eat chow, come back, maybe do PT later, maybe do it earlier. Go out and work on stuff you needed to know to survive.
Right.
So, like at age 19, I'm already responsible for 4 people.
Right.
It's a lot.
So that responsibility for a young man is huge. As far as I was concerned, I wanted to be somewhat adept at what I was doing. So I wanted to learn so I could, so my guys trusted me.
Right. You had the right mindset going in, knowing that you wanted to excel at that level, at that career in the military.
I wanted to be a leader.
Right.
The Marine Corps made me a leader, and I didn't want to disappoint them.
Right.
So I wanted to be good at my job and have people come to me. If we're taking fire, what do we do?
Right. You want to be the guy to be like, Myers, what's up? Like, let's do this. Yeah, you do. Yeah, exactly. You do this, you do this, you do this. You want to be that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to be that guy. So, so I remember one time the first sergeant come out, got us out. We were working on a thing. at the helipad, and he says, "Who's got their driver's license?" Said, "I do." "Come up here, Myers. See that helicopter?
Drive it.
Well, there was a helicopter coming in from the ocean." He said, "Land it."
What?
Well, we just had a class on how to.
Yeah, it was like, that means bring it in.
Okay.
Bring it in,
Chris
bring
is
it
like,
in.
whoa.
Hold on, let me drop the rope. I'll climb up there and I'll land this helicopter for you real quick.
Get back here, Myers. No. Going back home.
So that was a big deal,
That's awesome.
to bring that in and land it, and you got goggles on and then he said, "Okay." And then he said, I don't know, he saluted me or something. And then I waved him off and then he took off, and then somebody else came in, and we did that about 6 or 8 times.
Repetition.
Yeah.
That's
So
how you get it.
I was the first mofo to,
That's awesome.
yeah.
To land the helicopter from the ground.
From the ground.
Yeah, they had drones back then, by the way.
So, yeah. So, those little things that some people will never do that in their life.
Right.
And here I am about 19 years old going, yeah,
This is cool.
That's awesome.
Cool.
I'm dragging knuckles.
Was that like one of like the coolest moments, like up until then? Was that like one of your like prideful moments, or do you have other prideful moments from up until the Okinawa time?
Really, I mean, I can remember doing things like, being on maneuvers. So you'd walk with a full pack. I don't know how far it was, 8-10 miles. You'd do maneuvers all day. Then I remember getting on a helicopter. I don't know how many helicopters there were. We flew out over the ocean, flew back in, landed on the beach, and the back gate drops down. Everybody runs out, and we did a night assault. I had no idea that we were capable of doing something like, just think of the degree of difficulty of orchestrating at night, the complexity. And I was like, oh shit, I made it.
And this is a drill, not even.
And you're flying the helicopter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult.
With his American driver's license.
Yeah, with his American driver's license.
It's like, jump out, bring us in.
It's like, damn it, I can fly this better than you. But I remember falling asleep standing up. I was leaning on a small dune or something.
Passed out.
Mouth wide open, yeah.
I'm like, move out. You're like, what? Of course, you have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah.
You're the last guy in the platoon or whatever. You have no idea what you're doing, but you just go. And then finally they say, hey, I heard a rumor. What's that? We're going to go to sleep at midnight. Well, good. We've been going since 4:00 in the morning.
That's crazy. So just so everyone else knows, because I don't think we clarified this, but in the Marine Corps, you were infantry, correct?
That is correct.
Infantry. When actually going to Okinawa, you're doing this training. Was there anything? I know you mentioned that you were actually part of the sniper platoon, or you were the sniper in your platoon. How did you get to that point? And it sounds badass, but why were you interested in doing that?
Well, so I talked about being an Okinawa Marine and being a Marine and an Okinawa Marine. So I came back stateside, and they put me in this unit at Camp Lejeune.
So how long were you in Okinawa then?
12 months.
12 months, and then you went back
Then
to
I
stateside.
rotated back stateside, and they put me at Camp Lejeune.
Okay.
So I got about 1.5 years left on my enlistment. So I do not like this. I do not like the company. I don't like a crowded barracks. I just didn't like the way there was no personable. I just didn't think I was going to, it wasn't like I'd had in Okinawa.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had gone to the office or something, and I saw on the wall, it said something about snipers. We're going to try and fill a sniper platoon, and this is what you need to be considered to be a sniper.
Is it considered a scout sniper then, or?
I Actually, it was part of another platoon. At the time, the platoon it was called STANO, Surveillance, Target Acquisition, and Night Observation. So we had devices that we would put in the ground for another unit that could sense movement.
Huh?
And we could tell by the noises they make where these movements were coming from. And then we had night observation devices, which were like a starlight. So you could use the ambient light from the stars and the moon to see in the dark. But we had a great big one called a NOD, night observation device, huge. And we could spot movement in the dark, you know.
And this thing the NOD, it's pretty big. It's like a giant, like it's like a half size of an engine or like a third of an engine, I feel like, right? It's just this big box almost.
Yeah, the lens is about the size of a basketball.
Yeah.
Maybe bigger. And then the whole thing's probably, I don't know, 2 feet, 3 feet. Goes from there down to this little eyepiece, you know. So that was another, I had to go to the sniper training. And that lasted, I don't know how long that was, 2 or 3 months. And then had to learn all the other devices in the unit. But for the most part, we were snipers.
And I know sniper training, to become a sniper, there's a lot of things that you have to like really understand in terms of like mathematics and windage and the curvature of the earth and all. Is that also what you went through in terms of understanding like how to shoot accurately at long distances?
Right. So the gentleman that taught the course to us, I don't remember how many people were there's like 16 or 20 people in this group. And if I remember right, it was something to the effect of you are the first sniper class we've done since maybe ever. So they were kind of getting their feelers together as to what they should train. But, the basic marksmanship, we're talking about windage and elevation. And then if you do any shooting, you know that your scopes and sights have clicks that you can change the elevation of the strike of the bullet. And then you take into consideration the wind, direction, and the speed. So we had to learn the direction, not only the direction, which was easy, but the speed. But like I said, once again, we're talking 1978.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So there's no phones, there's no digital devices. It's all
manual.
It's all manual. I'm looking at a tree going, I think the wind is blowing 8 miles an hour out of the east.
Yeah, I was about to ask you because you just did the licked your finger and stuck it in the air. I was like, is that what you did?
Pretty much. And it worked. Still works today.
I'm like, all I can do is like, yep, it's blowing, but I can feel that on my face as well.
Right. But I mean, yeah. So, but the other thing is to look at the tree. So you look at the branches. How big are the branches? How much are they?
Swaying around
and moving, so you may be lined up to take a shot, 500-600 meters out, maybe 1,000 yards, and the wind isn't right because that bullet at 1,000 yards or 600 yards, if the wind's blowing 12-15 miles an hour, might move a foot and a half off your target. Ideally, the wind blowing into your face or behind you, blowing
towards the target.
Correct, is going to be your best shot. At the time, we had it was a Remington 7.62 with 3.9 variable scope, bolt action, heavy barrel, free floating barreled weapon.
It is a free floating barrel. I mean, it's not attached.
It's actually more accurate, but yes, it's not.
It's attached. Not touching the stock.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's floating on top of the stock there.
Right. So It was, like I said, a bolt action, which they claimed to be more accurate. I think the magazine, if I remember right, held 4, 5, 6 rounds maybe with one in the chamber.
Is there any exciting times during your sniper training that was just pretty fulfilling there, or any exciting stories in general?
I discovered fire ants one time at the range.
I'd like to know, did you shit your pants like your son did when he was in the military? Like you're waiting for a target to show up?
I have to claim dementia on that one.
Yeah.
Sounds like no, he did not. he never had to.
Yeah.
Nope, never happened. Just Joey.
Just Joe. Joey was the first.
Yeah. When you got to go, you got to go. I was sick, man. You know,
You didn't have to do it in front of women and children.
I didn't see him.
He just waved at him.
Yeah.
That's about all you can do when you're in that position.
I mean, I'm vulnerable. What else can I do? Pants are down. Yeah. But I felt great afterwards. So I wish that evil on nobody, honestly.
You know, there's just that when that happens, it happens. There's nothing you can do about it.
Oh, absolutely not.
Ghost white sick, you know. Yeah.
And you know what? Poop is funny. So
It is. And if you don't think it's funny, get the fuck
It
out.
makes good for a good story. So, you know, that's crazy.
yeah.
Well, what's the longest shot you've ever taken accurately?
Well, we used to shoot. So with the M16 with no scope, we used to shoot at 200, 300, and 500 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got the sniper rifle, we would practice at 600 yards. So you're trying to hit, you know, the X at 600 yards, which is hard to do. The X, I think, is only like 2 inches in diameter. So
Aim small, miss small.
There you go.
you know, it's, you know, I read about guys. I envy these guys, or say bullshit, or envy them. To be killing somebody from
2
a sniper
miles
shot,
away.
2 miles away. It's like,
Jesus.
Chris Kyle, you know.
Yeah, that's a risky shot.
I mean, did you hit anybody? You know, I don't know. I think I don't know who it was. It might have been Australia. Some military from a different country recorded. It was like a 2 mile. It was
I
insane.
think it was an Australian Special Forces running with the British SAS. I believe.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right though. But that was insane to see.
you know, the interesting thing is so in the military, you shoot at what's called a silhouette target.
Mhm.
So it's like from the waist up here.
Yeah.
So that's called a silhouette. And then of course there's the X. Then
In the middle of the chest.
that's your bread and butter right there. So next time you're out somewhere, mark off 500 yards, walk 500 steps, and see if you think you could hit that from 500 yards.
I know I can't.
I was like, the answer is no for me, for sure.
I know in a 100-yard range with an M16, I can hit the target every time. But that's basically like shooting a piece of paper right next to you. So that's not really saying a whole lot.
I bet Whiskey David could do it.
Yeah, Whiskey
David
could do
would probably have a huge problem with that.
Facing the opposite way.
Whiskey David would be handed a Nerf gun and not realize what's going on.
Yeah. No, but it becomes very difficult. You know, the further out you are, you're not even talking about just having the right zero on your scope and your rifle, but also it's your breathing. It's your how you pull the trigger, you know. And they always taught us you got to feel for the break in your heartbeat. You know, boom, boom, right there, boom, 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 boom. Like. There's so many things that go into play of shooting accurately at long distances, not only just the math and the altitude and the weather and the wind, anything and everything could just screw you up.
So you don't just pull the trigger and go then.
Correct.
So what they teach the Marines, if you look at the ranks, the Marine Corps on their rank has crossed rifles because marksmanship they take very seriously. So in the Marine Corps, once a year, you'll go to the rifle range and spend a week on the rifle range shooting from you go to prone, kneeling, and standing position at 200, 300. I don't remember at the 500. I think 500 is prone. But like I say, at 500 yards with an M16, that target gets real small. It's smaller than the front sight post.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you're sitting there offhand, standing.
Looks like a small pebble that you're like, what is that? And you're trying to like focus and try and see it, you know, but it's there.
So we used to practice. We would take our our cartridge belt with a canteen on it and a magazine pouch and put it on the end of our rifle. And that would kind of build up your muscle.
Right. Yeah.
So then we had what's called a smudge pot. And it was a round pot with a flame on the end. You'd stick your sights in there and it would make them matte, like a matte black. So there was no sun shining off of them.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
You'd pretty much scratch off the glare of the bullet, so it wouldn't
Right.
point you out in a scenario.
But they would also say, the acronym for shooting is breathe, relax, aim, squeeze, shoot. So you take a deep breath, like Joel was saying. You're aiming, exhale, squeeze, shoot.
And it should kind of like surprise you. Like you shouldn't kind of know. You kind of know, but you don't. And it should take off and like, okay.
You kind of get a rhythm.
Yeah.
You get a rhythm. But that's if you hold your breath too long, then you kind of start shaking a little bit. You jitter.
Yeah.
So.
And
Man,
talking
I want to
about
go shooting, man.
Let's go shooting.
Yeah,
We should go to Lockhart and
talking
do
about
the
that like surprise thing. That's a big thing in bow hunting. Is they actually have releases when you pull
Yes.
back. You don't know when it's going to let go, so you just got to hold it and make sure your breath is still, and it releases basically randomly. So you're just kind of waiting for it to release, making sure you're holding the position.
That's something I haven't done is like bow hunting, but I feel like it's very tough on some of those bows. Like
Those compound bows.
Yeah, those compound bows.
Oh, the pullback is terrible.
Yeah, it'll
But
test
once you
you.
get past, what is it? How do they designate that? Like 60-40 or
I think it's somewhere around. It's between 60-40 and 70-30, and you kind of adjust it on your pull, and then it runs between like 70 and like 110
right?
pounds.
Okay,
Like,
pounds.
I think-
Yeah.
I
So
think-
like you'll go, "Ugh," and then all of a sudden it just goes wink.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you'd want to start like we would all probably start in the 80, like right at 80, and
Right.
then you'd want to be closer to 90 for your actual hunting bolt strength.
Sure.
From what I understand, I've only shot compound a few times. I've shot a ton of recurve.
Right. Recurve's tough.
Yeah, but it's so much fun.
It is.
I love it. But yeah, you got to be like, you'll be 40 yards from a target. You're like, "Huh," and you're aiming like 15 feet above it. You're like, "Phoom," and it's just like this.
Hey,
It's just so much fun.
doink.
Yeah, because with recurve, you have to understand the
The
geometry
curve,
of
yeah.
it.
Right.
With the compounds, you can get sights that same thing as like a scope. Is you click it down, so you can be looking straight, and it's pointing the arrow up, and it
I saw
builds that
those.
curve in for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You almost have to be like Rambo. Yeah. The Rambo bow.
Yeah, they've specialized bow hunting.
Yeah, it's got some good stuff, and we've got one of the best ones in the country here at archery country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They're super highly rated.
I've heard another podcast talk about it. Some low rent podcast talk about that.
Yeah, maybe don't hit on the low rant podcasts.
They're trying, man. They're trying.
Someone tell Joe Rogan he's not doing that great.
Oh man. So Allan, we're so right now we're at Camp Lejeune, right? So you're going through your sniper class, you're going through that. How long were you at Lejeune? Is that where you kind of finished your enlistment? Because I think you said you had like a year and a half when you got there.
So, right. So after basic training, I go to Okinawa, and I think it's about every 4 months or every 6 months, you go on what's called a rotation. So from Camp Schwab, we went on rotation, and we went to like the Philippine Islands, Korea. Can't remember all the different countries I went to, but we would go there and train with their forces and do a multinational type training event. But what it does is it also puts a ready force right there in this Westpac is where we were.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I come back stateside and go to Camp Lejeune, well, the same thing. There's a readiness force that leaves Camp Lejeune and goes to the Mediterranean. So there's a contingency of Marines in the Mediterranean 24/7,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
along with Navy pilots and ships and everything.
Kind of one of those in case shit.
Yeah.
Right. So we have a presence, like I said, different places around the world 24/7. But the Marine Corps does not need a declaration of war to go fight.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, they're called the President's Own, and the president can just say,
Go over there. Do
There you
that
go.
thing.
Al, hop in the helicopter.
Yeah.
Grab your sniper rifle.
Oh, you got a driver's license, right?
Yeah, don't forget your driver's
Land
license.
this helicopter. Fucking Jimmy Bob over here forgot his driver's license. You can't let him land it.
Yeah, I got to teach somebody else how to fly so I can moon them guys.
So you were in the Mediterranean, you were in the South Pacific, or Westpac, as you said.
Yes.
Which one was better? Better weather, better feeling out there.
Yeah. What treated you better?
Yeah. You're like, it was all Marines.
Where'd you get drunk? Where'd you get drunk the most?
I probably got drunk the most in the Mediterranean.
In the sea?
Yeah. Drinking salt water with the dolphins.
Okay.
But, you know, I look at it as an experience. As a young man, you go there and you see things that you never would have seen had you not joined the military.
Yeah.
When I came back, then I'm a little bit more experienced, a little bit more mature. So then I'm in Spain, France, Italy, Greece, a place called Palma, Mallorca. That was fun.
I recognize that name, Mallorca.
Yep. I can't remember what it means, but it was just a good time. You know, I think it's just, you get a different crowd of people going there from Europe.
Yeah.
And Asia are going there versus the Mideast, or not the Mideast, but the Far East.
Right.
It's just a different group of people, and it's country's been established differently.
Mm-hmm.
So you're meeting Scandinavians, you're meeting Spaniards, you're meeting Italians.
Yeah, because I assume the travel over there is probably similar to it is now. Like I know when we went to Italy, like the people that were flying from our connecting flight, wherever it was, to Rome, like, yeah, it was like $20. And we fly back tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's fucking awesome. It's like us flying from like Texas to other places in Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to fly to Galveston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That'll be $300.
Yeah. They don't care about us.
Yeah. And that's a great, I think you're spot on with that. And, you know, a friend of mine, Robert Escoa, was from Central America, spoke fluent Spanish. So when we were in Spain or somewhere like that, you know, he did the talking.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he was a really good friend of mine. And so he'd get us into the movie theater. We'd go see a movie, or we'd go to a bar, you know, or just whatever. You know, I had somebody there to communicate,
Yeah.
As long as it was Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was a wingman at the bars, right?
He was the wingman. So yeah, you know, so you meet all kinds of people. You know, I remember a guy named Carry On was from San Antonio.
That's his name?
Carry On. Yeah.
All right, carry on.
Did he sneak on the plane or something?
He's like, my name's Carry On.
Well, the funny thing is back then, if you were doing something and somebody of importance came in, you'd go to attention, and they'd go, room, attention. And then when he was out of the room, they go, carry on, meaning do whatever you were doing. Go back, and he'd go, I am.
Like, yes.
Okay.
Just starts following the admiral that just walked through. Like, you said my name. Carry on. Yes, thought you wanted me to follow you.
So, yeah, you know, it's weird is when you, you know, so we go full circle now. So we come back to my friend Jerry.
So he did.
Back to Jerry. So he made it. He made it through.
Good old Jerry.
Well, we almost forgot about Jerry.
We almost forgot him.
So
I hadn't forgotten about Jerry.
So the interesting thing here is we went in the Marine Corps on what's called the buddy program. So we went to basic training together. We had recruiting duty together. We went to Okinawa together, and we came back and spent time at Camp Lejeune together. So we spent 3 years together in the Marine Corps, which was kind of nice to have your best friend there.
That's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you guys stay friends.
Not
Jerry's not around.
yeah.
Next topic.
Yeah. Kind of maneuver over this way.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just one of those things that just went, like I said, went that way, and we just went different directions. And
Yeah, it happens, you know, but
it
that's pretty
happens.
cool that you're able to do that with someone that you knew, which
Right.
kind of made the whole experience even better by having a connection. Right. And, someone that was a friend of yours.
Yeah, it was, and I can't remember. I think it's been probably 20 years since we've talked.
Sure.
So I go to Desert Storm in Iraq, and he never pursued a career. So he was always interested in my career. And then when his father passed away, he said, "Would you please, are you going to attend?" I said, "I'm coming up to the funeral." He said, "Please wear your uniform." So I wore my dress uniform, and that made him happy.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
That was nice of you.
So, no hard feelings, no harm, no foul, but, so I get back to Camp Lejeune. I'm getting ready to get out.
So it's been 4 years then? Or how long?
I was on 3 years. So when I was in Okinawa, they wanted me to go in front of a promotion board where you interview in front of your superiors and they ask you questions. If they think you're worthy, then they give you the nod and promote you. And I said, "Well, I'm not ready to be promoted to sergeant yet. I just don't think I'm mature enough, to do it." So I get back stateside, and they wanted me to re-enlist. And he says, "Well, we'll promote you to sergeant." And I said, "Well, I've boarded several times for sergeant now." And I said, "I haven't made it, so I really don't want to re-enlist for it." And he says, "Well, we can send you to Okinawa." I said,
"Again?"
I said, "Well, I've been there once." I said, I don't think I left anything over there I want to find again.
Yeah.
I just said, I just think it's time for me to go home. I've, 3 years is enough. And
Okay.
I think it was just a great experience. It was a great maturing experience, but it's something that 3 or 4 years would have been just perfect for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Sure.
And, I don't have a crystal ball, but in the long run, it did work out well for me.
Nice.
So you got out. What's your first move? Go back home? Family?
Yeah. How was that transition?
Grow a beard.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Grow my hair, grow a beard, and went to
Like
work.
the way this guy thinks.
Yeah. And started working for my parents. They had a business, and so I went to work for them. But then I was working 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, and then, man, this ain't working.
This sucks. You feel like you're working now as opposed to before? You didn't really feel like it was like work?
God, yeah, it was just like, gosh, this is.
You're not around your friends anymore type of thing, not the same environment. It's like the break happens and you're like, now it's quiet and nothing's happening.
Right.
Well, so get out of the military after 3 years, moved to a different town, don't know anybody. I'm working 7 days a week. I'm 21 years old going, this ain't working.
You used to be somebody,
Like,
people wanted, you were in
not gonna
charge of
last.
people. You were a sniper. You did all this cool stuff. They wanted you for promotion. You were somebody. And now you went back somewhere where you're nobody.
Again. Yeah. I'm just, so yeah, we did that. We figured out a schedule. And then a couple years later, I met my future wife. And
That's mom, right?
that is your mother.
All right.
I wasn't going to say it because I was like, I don't know the background on this.
Yeah, that's your mother. I met your mother. Yeah.
Shout out to Jane.
Yeah. And so anyway, the National Guard had a team there. They bowled on, I think Tuesday or Wednesday night. And one guy asked me if I'd ever thought about getting back in. I said, "Well, no, I don't know. Why? Well, come on over, take a look." So I went over to take a look at it and went, "You know what? This might work."
This looks good.
Yeah.
Well, so I was married. It was going to be an extra, I don't know what it was, an extra $100-200 a month for one weekend. And I'm back wearing a uniform, driving an Army truck, shooting an M16,
Yeah. Getting back to the fun stuff that you like.
The stuff
day.
that
Yeah.
the stuff you
Exactly.
missed, not
Yeah.
the bullshit you
Yeah.
didn't.
So once again, there's a transition between Marine, spit and polish, strack, pay attention or you're going to get shot, to join the National Guard. So there was some holdovers from Vietnam that joined the National Guard too, so they didn't have to go to Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's their thing,
Right.
And so I joined the National Guard and I'm making, I forget what it was, a couple $100 a month. And what we needed the money. And and I get promoted and kind of liked it. And then I signed up for a reenlistment bonus. I got a whole $900.
Damn.
Inflation, that's like $800 million.
I was gonna say back then, yeah.
And that's before taxes.
Woo!
Living large.
So, just like I say, and then pretty soon you just start doing it and you reenlist, then pretty soon you go, geez, I'm halfway to retirement. And then a war breaks out.
Yeah, the back in the 90s, the Desert Storm, right?
Yeah.
Now, what was your feeling though? Like, did you have any feeling from being a Marine and then going into the Army National Guard? So you were this Marine sniper, right? And then you go to be in the National Guard to a transportation unit. Did you feel?
Oh yeah.
What?
I don't know the word.
Yeah, but you felt something, right? You're like,
I can remember like my second time at drill. My first drill, I walked in with spit shine boots, a high and tight haircut, iron starch utilities, and everybody's looking at me like, what the hell's that? So that night, they broke down the machine gun to clean it. And the guy walks over to me and says, hey, can you put that 60 back together? And I go, yeah.
blindfolded.
Yeah. He goes, well, we could use a little help. And I go, well, why'd you tear it apart if you don't know how to? Well, it's a good point. But he says, can you put it back together? And I go, yeah. So let's go. There. Should we do this again? So I see an opportunity for training.
Right.
Okay, let's do this again. Let's do it. Let's everybody do it till they can do it to standard, because it might save your life someday.
Right.
So that's my
to the Marine standard, not the National Guard standard.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Do you feel that, and we'll get to this point, but this just came to mind. I don't want to forget about it, but do you feel like your time in the Marines help you succeed during your time in the Guard? Did it separate you from the rest of the people in a way based on your experience and your standards?
I think it did. I believe being active duty, and you can attest to this, being active duty, been there, done that, there's a different mentality of why am I doing this? We're not going to do it half-assed. We're going to do it to standard.
You see the why behind the why. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to tell you why you need to be able to tear that 60 down and put it back together again in the dark, because you may have to do it someday.
Yep.
Where the other guy would say, I'll put it together. You go ahead and go have a cigarette or something.
Right.
Kind of a deal. So I think because I was I felt I was mission focused.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know maybe the big picture, but I knew what it looked like at this level. So it was important to me that my guys knew how to do everything that was asked of them. And I actually think that kind of started rubbing off. I think other people took notice and kind of went.
Led by example.
Yeah. Good leadership.
Maybe we should be doing it this way.
Yeah. Good leadership rubs off on the people that are underneath you. And then they, in essence, become better leaders in the future as well. For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there was actually one of the tasks in the Army handbook that was like, take the place of a lost leader.
Right.
So somebody was always in second command. So you want to make sure that second in command knew everything you did, that if you were in the first in command, kind of a thing. So,
right.
So it seemed like, it definitely came in handy with having the Marine infantry tactics mentality, right? Being active, you do this 24/7, 365, and then you're going to the weekend warrior, right? But you're shining, you're standing out. It seems like you did really well. Curious, was there a learning curve with being transportation now? Did you have to switch your focus from like weapons and, devices like that to learning more of the transportation? What was what was the learning curve, I guess?
So it's a valid point. So I have the soldier down pat. That's not a problem.
Mhm.
I got to learn to drive the trucks. Well, then there's things you do in the military when you drive a truck where, let's say you take sniper fire. What do you do to react to sniper fire? Everybody in that truck driving needs to know what to do. So if we take incoming artillery rounds, is that the same reaction or is it a different reaction? So the drivers have to be able to distinguish that. So if we determine that we've taken a hit and we stop, now we have to take up a defensive position. So now that's where the infantryman, so this truck driver now becomes an infantryman.
Mm-hmm.
So now I take up a defensive position. Well, did I put my weapon together right? Did I lube it? Is it going to function? Did I sight it incorrectly? You know, so these are the things that I want to train you as a leader. So when you jump out of that truck and you're going to shoot at the enemy or whatever that's going to happen, engage the enemy, do you know what to do? So now if you get shot, what's the guy next to you going to do?
Right.
So it's kind of a trickle down theory. So everybody has to be able to react accordingly, you know, and react to a loss of a key member.
And understand what the next move is if X happens.
Exactly. Yeah.
You were asking and looking directly at me. I was like, I don't know. You know, you're going to tell us, right? This is not a quiz.
I have guesses.
I have a guess, but I watched that show Special Forces and a lot of them get it wrong.
Well, and they do. And it's okay to get it wrong in practice.
Yeah.
But that's why I remember one mother coming out to me and she says, my son comes home. He's so tired. So well, that's good.
Yeah.
I said, that's good. I said, because you know what? If we have to go somewhere and fight, I want to make sure he knows what he's doing. So I can look you in the eye and say, you know what? He'll be all right.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're training and you don't know what to do, because it's not even just for you, it's for everyone else around you. Like you talked about that one guy that kept messing up. Mistakes can cost people's lives and bad things to happen. So even the littlest thing, like, do you stop? Or should you not stop? Should you keep going if it's an ambush? Like those things could mean that a truck gets exploded, you know, or people die. And so be tired. You know, you should run yourself into the ground because you're training for that moment that hopefully never comes. But if it does, you need to be prepared.
Because in that moment, you're going to be tired.
And you're not going to be thinking right. There's things happening that you're like, what do I do? Like, even if you've done it a million times, there's times when you're going to go, oh my God. And you're looking to the right and the left and, you know, you're scared. Maybe you're scared shitless.
Right.
You know? And so it's these little things being repetitive that matter.
And you know, I know, you know, from your training that you do it. It's so redundant that you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just do it.
When that weapon jams, this is what I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is it? Slap, pull, observe, release, tap, shoot.
Yep. You have all these acronyms down. I love it. Like when you mentioned the breathe, relax, aim, squeeze, shoot, there I was like, oh my God, yes. I was like, it's been so long.
But when you do it, when it's your life for so many years, you just
you get I think that's a good reason why too, is when people transition out of the military like you did, you got out and you're like, hey, I love my family, I love this new job, but like, it's not, I need money, but I need to go do something also that brings me some joy and some excitement too. There's that. It's that like you go through these same things repetitively, even the basic things like what do you do when you get a jam, blah, blah. But even the crazy things can be boring to you now. Like, you know, some people be like nervous if something goes down, maybe there's a car wreck or something. I think a lot of people that have gone through some exciting things, you know, some loud experiences, it's kind of like whatever to them, you know? And I guess what my point is people going out of the military, they're still looking for that thing that excites them and gets the adrenaline going sometimes. Right. And they don't find it and they get, you know, lost.
I do have a question for you, Joey, actually. And just popped in my head because we talked about your experience, you know, one of the first episodes that we did. And I never popped in my mind. Did you ever think about going into the National Guard after getting out of the Army?
I don't think it really I'm sure it did, but I don't recall if it was like on the plan.
Okay.
You know, for me, I think it was one of these things where if I'm going to do it, I'm doing active.
Right.
And I think it could have been an option, but based on what I was doing when I was out, like going to school, and okay. But I think it was an option at one point. I did think about it because there's bonuses that you can get for re-enlisting.
Yeah,
you know,
get a whole $900.
Well, now you re-enlist.
That's $3,600 in today's money. I looked it up.
Oh, did you? It's $3,600 for
It's like 30, something like that.
Like when I joined, I got a bonus, I think, and it was during wartime. That's when you're going to see a lot of that stuff. But now you'll get like thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that could have been something.
So
there you go.
So what
here we go. We got some pictures here. This is this Joey?
That's
Joey and Kelsey.
Joey and Kelsey are our last guests from the last episode. Oh, wow.
So this is, my dad just passed his phone that has a picture of me and my sister Kelsey. And this is a picture of me during basic training graduation.
Ew. Kelsey looks great though.
Tell me how you
Kelsey
think.
looks great.
Tell me how you really think. Oh man.
I mean, you still stands even today, Joey. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's not a change. It's just you.
Ew. Yeah, I was like,
oh, great.
That's a great response.
I was like 160
David,
in
I
that.
like that. I got to remember that.
Ew.
Joey's skinny and bald faced.
He's still skinny.
That's funny.
Okay.
I mean, compared to me, yes. But yes, you have a great belly, Joey.
Oh yes.
For you guys just listening, Chris is patting Joey on the belly. And that was weird.
It felt good.
Well, speaking of which, I think, are you guys ready for some Woodford Reserve, Allan's favorite here as we move forward?
Oh yeah, let's do
I know
it.
we said 12 minutes in, but I think we're like an hour in now. So
Right around there, yeah.
Fun.
All right.
I've got to get rid of this Maker's Mark room.
Oh yeah, you still got the makers in there, huh?
I bet you'll have a tough time with that, Marine.
Yeah, right.
And it's gone.
Yeah, there you go.
That Maker's just has a nice flavor to it.
Yeah, that's.
Did you get some, David?
I haven't yet. No.
Yeah, it's one of our makers is one of our favorites because we actually went to the Makers Distillery back when we went on David's his bachelor party. Yeah, it was a great time. Yeah, on the
I was
bourbon
like,
trip.
you're like,
Yeah,
what's that word?
It took me a second, but yeah, Maker's Mark was great. I really enjoyed that place, and I enjoyed the whiskey or the bourbon, I should say.
Where is it at?
It's in Louisville.
Louisville,
Yeah, just outside. I think it was like an hour outside of Louisville, something like that.
Yeah, we actually took a party bus. It was a lot of fun.
Well,
anyways,
cheers, guys.
Cheers.
This has been a great story, Al.
Here.
Let's keep going though. Yeah.
Conversation, great libation.
Yeah.
I did go try to grab a beer, and this is what I came back with.
Good old ranch water.
That's ranch water. Ranch water's good.
I was looking for a Coors Light. But it is prickly pear. So
I think there's a cooler by the front door that should still have some
Isn't
beer.
that-
it's too late. I already opened this one, so we're gonna do this.
Is that ranch water? Is that the Yellowstone ranch water? Or?
No, Lone River.
Oh yeah, so it is the one from Yellowstone. That the guy from Yellowstone promotes that one. The country singer.
Who's the country singer from Yellowstone?
How does he promote it? Ranch water.
Pretty much. He does like a song about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He, after he falls off the bucking horse.
Oh yeah. I love that show. That show's so great.
Well,
can't hear you out.
Let's go back. Let's go back here.
We'll get back into this here.
Way back.
Way back.
The way back machine.
But don't lean way back. Talk into the mic.
So right now you're in the National Guard. You're teaching all these guys your Marine Corps tactics. You're getting into things. And then you had mentioned, then we go into a conflict. Tell us a little bit about going into the conflict as in National Guard.
Right. So I may be a little fuzzy on the dates and times and stuff, but so when the unit was mobilized in 1990, the last time that guard unit had been mobilized was like during World War II, 1942.
Ooh,
My God.
big deal.
It's a big deal. It's huge. So I'm like, oh, hell yeah.
Let's fucking go.
History. Ready.
Too late to back out now. Shit.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm working on my bathroom, trying to remodel my bathroom, and I got to go out there and shit and do God knows what. So we go out there. Of course, nobody knows what to do because it's so, nothing's firm. Nobody really knows anything. So we're trying to get paperwork up to date for 135 soldiers. We're trying to get vehicles have to be painted, go from camouflage green to desert brown.
Right.
And what rank are you at this time?
So I'm a staff sergeant.
Okay. So you went from E3 in the Marines.
E4 in the Marine Corps.
E4.
Came into the Guard, got promoted to E5, and then made E6. So I'm a squad leader. I've got like 10 people below me. And so we're getting ready to go. And like I said, we're trying to figure out, you got to get new uniforms. You got to make sure innocuous shots, glasses, dental, all these things have to happen. So they pick us up and mobilize us. We go to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri from Red Oak, Iowa, which is like a 2-day trip. So we got about 60 vehicles, 150 people, 135 to 150 people getting all this dental. I remember Charlie Lombard went into dental and they pulled every tooth in his mouth.
What? Oh my God.
Oh, that's
He
my
comes
dream.
back and I go, Charlie. What? I'm like, holy crap. Well, I'm getting false teeth.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
He had that bad of teeth. They had to pull every single one of them.
Yeah.
Guess you never heard of
Yes,
it.
yes, she did.
No, it's not. Unfortunately, that's not how that works. I've had all the teeth things you can have. People just have shit teeth no matter what you do.
Dang.
So they accommodated him and just yanked every one of them out. And about, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, he's got false teeth and everything's good.
He's ready to fight.
So all of a sudden, here we are. So if you remember, we got Desert Shield and Desert Storm.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've never really heard of Desert Shield. I've heard of Desert Storm, but
Wasn't Desert Shield prior to the actual deployment? Like we were there.
It was kind of the buildup.
But that was,
Right.
yeah.
It was the buildup and like, we're in a defensive position.
Yeah, we're building up forces along the border and whatever. And I remember this one guy got this great big old tattoo on his arm, said Desert Shield, da 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 da. And like 2 days later, Desert Storm has happened and da 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 da. So here's this guy's got a Desert Shield tattoo, and we're in Desert Storm. Well, they unleashed this vicious attack on the Iraqi army, and it lasted 96 hours. Well, they still sent us in. But it's a very scary time because you don't have control of anything.
right.
Where the food is coming from, where the toilets are. But after that, you don't have any control of your future kind of a thing. So next thing we know, we're going north. Well, this is getting pretty real. So now we get in our,
Were you in Kuwait? Is that where you were?
we were south in, we were in Saudi Arabia
Okay.
at a place called, I think it was Doha. Khobar Towers is what it was called. And after we left, it was bombed. So we missed that.
Well, good thing you were out of there.
Oh, no kidding. No kidding. So we take off and we go. Of course, we don't know where we're going. We don't know how far it is. We don't know anything. And of course, we're sleeping in our trucks. We're trying to get a hot meal. We don't know anything. Then all of a sudden, we just stop in the desert somewhere in Log Base Echo. And they go, welcome home.
Where the fuck is this?
What is home?
Call it BFE, Bumfuck Egypt.
That's what that's from.
I would like to make a comment that Chris searched for Desert Storm
Shut
map
up.
and just instead of map of the Middle East.
I was looking because look, this one has.
I see where
Okay,
It has arrows going where the things are going. Calm down. I'm not Jamie, okay, from Joe Rogan, as you like to quote. But
so do you know? Were you following a unit that was clearing ahead of you guys, like, or were you the front of the line,
tip of the spear?
Yeah, were you in your own area clearing?
So by the time we got there, there was already people in place. There were so many units in place, but everybody had taken. So like you set up your mess tent where you eat. You set up the headquarters tent where all the administrative. You set up the living tents where everybody lives. The showers.
Yeah.
The toilets, the latrines. And then a bulldozer shows up and starts and builds this 10-foot berm around where you have just built everything. That's your protection. It protects you from somebody driving into you, sleeping in your tent. And so, for the next 4 months, I'm living in a tent on a cot, but you stay very busy. We delivered mail. Can't believe how much mail occurs.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Water, the amount of water people drink, and parts, things break.
Right.
Transportation has to haul all that. So you run into those things, so you make do with what you got, so.
What do you feel like the atmosphere was like with your unit when you guys were deployed to Desert Shield and, Desert Storm?
I think being from small town Iowa, we probably had one of the best deployments that any unit could have asked for.
Is that because it was your unit?
No. But I think what happens is when you have good leaders in place, when you have good bosses, I think what happens is they take care of problems. They don't allow problems to happen. If a problem does manifest, we're going to take care of it. Why is this problem why? How come we don't have toilet paper?
And a unit that hasn't been deployed since World War II, I bet that's another thing being like, hey, I don't know how this is going to go. And it just surpassed all expectations of how well they did.
Right.
So we ended up, like I said, we had about 60 vehicles. I think we drove somewhere above 1 million miles. I don't know how many hundreds, thousands of tons of cargo we hauled in theater.
Jesus.
You just can't believe how much mail comes in theater.
Yeah.
Truckloads upon truckload.
Well, stuff you don't think about, like, hey, you got people. What do people need to survive? Okay, you need latrine, you need water, you need food, mail to communicate, all these other things. There's parts that you mentioned. So
these are what you were driving, these MRAPs?
So this is what's called I think it's a M93 or 923.
Yeah, so Allan actually gave us some good pictures from his time at Desert Storm, and I got them up on the computer here. We'll definitely post them on a post on our Instagram and socials.
And what we're looking at right now is truck from bumper to bumper. Looks like there's probably about, 40, 50 trucks here. We can't even see what's behind this truck next to the picture, but it looks awesome.
So what's going on here is we're in a convoy, and we're actually going up into Iraq to pick up a mobile runway.
A mobile runway?
It's a runway that's made of aluminum. The pieces are like
Lego,
kind of like a Lego.
Little puzzle pieces type thing. Boop, boop, boop.
So they're actually like 4 foot square, 5 foot square. I don't remember now. And they're made out of aluminum. And then there's a rod that connects them. Well, they can construct this. The engineers can construct this in the runway or in the desert where it's usually pretty flat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they wanted to move it. So they sent us up there to get them. So every one of these trucks has his headlight on. We're going, there's the wrecker in the back. I think there's a forklift back there. So we're going up there to pick this runway up. When we left, that runway was distributed through every one of these trucks.
Interesting. And you were telling us, because we kind of looked at these before we started recording, this made the cover of a magazine?
It did. It was like Army Transport magazine.
I thought you were going to say Playboy or something.
I was saying yeah,
like Time cover of the year. It's like Army Transport Today.
Something like that. Yeah, it was a magazine that goes out to transporters. and I actually have a copy of it back home.
That's awesome.
That's still, yeah.
I
cover of a
want
magazine,
I
yeah.
want one of these trucks to rip off the rear end and build like you can build a
Like an RV?
badass fucking RV out of these things and do dispersed camping where you can just go wherever the fuck you want.
So these tires on here, this is what's cool. So we just got it. These trucks were given to us before we deployed. So we had to learn how to drive these trucks. They have what's called a CTIS system, a central tire inflation system. So if I'm going to drive in the desert, I can hit this button and it lowers the pressure.
Deflates.
It deflates the air pressure in the tire to, I'll just say 30 pounds. So now you get this nice, cool ride.
Yeah.
So then if I'm going to go on the highway, I hit that button. It automatically inflates the tires to, let's say, 60 pounds. And now I'm driving on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
But if I forget to hit that button and I go over this speed, like 20 miles an hour,
It'll start doing it.
it does it
I
automatically.
forgot about that.
There's a lot of guys that will actually put because the Humvees have the same kind of deal on them, I guess. The newer ones.
The newer ones might.
Yeah. And they'll put them on my truck, like a 2500 diesel, because they're like, I'm tired of getting out of my fucking truck and lowering this pressure. So they'll put them on there so they can just hit a button in the cab and
Sure.
lower and raise them.
Right. And that's like technology that the military has come up with and made that transfers into civilian life. I'm sure back then that wasn't technology that was readily available
No.
for anybody.
That was
but-
cutting edge, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So now in 2015 to 2023, that's a new thing that's come to us. But you had this back in early 90s.
90, we got these trucks brand new in 1990.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's
These
crazy.
things have
Really
like
cool.
1,500 foot-pounds of torque and like 250 horsepower.
Well, the interesting thing is when we were loading them on rail cars, if you go into, I think it's somewhere in these photos, you'll see a picture of loading them on,
While he's looking,
rail cars.
Not on this one, but yeah, keep going.
We'd go to load them on the rail car and you'd drive up and stop till you hit this thing. And then they'd give you the go ahead. The truck didn't have enough guts to go up at like a 4-inch, 5-inch bump.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And, but you'd have to back up and give it a little bit of a run.
Some momentum.
Yeah. So moving on in your time in Iraq for Desert Storm, were there any other kind of crazy stories? I mean, transportation, the trucks were cool. You got a nice picture of everything. What, any other not crazy stories, but like any interesting, there was one picture that I did see where you had it almost looked like Flavor Flav with a clock on, but it was a temperature gauge.
Yeah, you're holding a temperature gauge, and it was sitting at 130 degrees in the shade.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, how do you manage that? Like,
Yeah, and how'd that come to be? Because you kind of told us a little bit of the story earlier, but I would love for our listeners to hear what that entails.
So what happened was, you fast forward about 10 years and I go to Iraq again. I'm just north of Baghdad, about 30 miles at a place called Al-Taji, Taji, if you ever want to research it. And my folks says, do you need anything? And I says, yeah, I could use a outdoor thermometer. So mom sends me an outdoor thermometer and I put it outside. Well, it's like July or August and it pegs out over 100. I think the thermometer went to 110 or 120, probably 110. And I said, send me one that goes a little hotter because this one's maxing out and I can't get an accurate reading. She goes, you're kidding me. No. So next thing you know, a week or so later, this comes in and I put the old one in the shade because it didn't get that hot in the shade. But the one that you saw is a picture of the one that went up to 130 or 140.
I think it went to 140 plus. Yeah.
140.
And it was like, oh my gosh. So a lot of people don't believe you when you tell them, they're like, yeah, all right, sure.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
you
right.
go, here, fucker. But
that was in your next tour out there, which we'll get to here in just a few.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah. So we're in Desert Storm. That surpasses you guys. It ends, right? And you guys get to go home. What was that feeling like?
So you go from not knowing what you're going to do to where you fall in, you build tents, you start getting missions, you start hauling parts, mail, water, POWs. We hauled 10,000 POWs back from Iraq, back into in custody back in Saudi Arabia. Soldiers, to where, you're just going 7 days a week. There's no break, but you're taking a lot of satisfaction in what you're doing because you're a well-trained unit. You're doing what you're trained to do and you're doing it well. And then all of a sudden, hey, we're going home. And then you go home and there's a big homecoming. I think there's some pictures on there, but then you get home and you're like a hero. You feel like the guy's coming back from World War II.
Yeah.
Right on top of the world. Yeah.
You are. Yeah. And you're like, and so then you're walking in the Army, you get what's called a combat patch.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to combat, you get a patch on your right shoulder. And so we were one of the few units out of Iowa that were able to wear that combat patch that were called to duty. So it was a big deal at the time.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in that area, I'm guessing.
And it was. And so the other big thing, I always said it was a big deal. We didn't lose anybody.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's awesome.
So we go to war. We're in a combat zone for 4 or 5 months, and we have not one casualty.
That is outstanding.
And I think if you do your history, if you go back and look at facts, I think in Desert Storm, there was just a couple, like less than 100 or less than 50 people died in Desert Storm.
Really?
So that was a big thing for us to come back with everybody there. Everybody that went.
You did it right.
Everybody came home. Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in charge of people too. Like you definitely don't want something to happen, especially under your watch, right? With your people, and people look at you and you're going to think about yourself. That's going to be forever.
Well,
Yeah.
the interesting thing, and I just kind of had a flash, is I remember in my second tour in Iraq, guys in the Guard and Reserve who don't see any action, they're just in the Guard and Reserve. They're not active duty. I remember a group of truck drivers getting pinned down, having to fight for their life.
Mm-hmm.
And they're Guard and Reserve members. They're not active duty.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
The second tour was a lot more.
Try doing something just on the weekends.
Yeah.
And then doing something like that compared to someone who does it nonstop. You're going to feel like out of place. And hopefully that story that you heard, hopefully there was a good end.
Yeah.
Oh, there was.
Huh.
There was.
Yeah. There was when we were deployed. So when we were deployed, you have certain regions that you cover, right? Because there's so many people. It's like, okay, you cover this region. This unit covers this region, whatever. And we'd always run across certain people that ran into our region. And there was a National Guard unit. And this just giving you an example of like when you're National Guard, you just don't have the resources or the time, right, to do certain trainings and, as much as an active duty unit. And the National Guard people, they got out of the trucks. They had Slim Jims and, all sorts of stuff coming out. And then, of course, we know what to do. We would spread out. We would pull security while our leaders are talking to their leaders, right? We'd just make a nice little security circle around the location that we were at. And they'd be looking around at us being like, oh, this is what we do. Okay. And they don't know, they don't know certain things, but they look to us and being like, okay, this is what we do. And so we'd be like, hey, why don't you go right there, right? And
like active duty becomes the leaders of the National Guard in those situations.
Yeah. It's like, what would you do, right? You're looking to that next person that might know more than you. Be like, what should I be doing in this scenario? Where's
the adult?
Yeah. So to his story there, this reserve or National Guard unit that got under fire, like that's a big deal. Like at that point, you're like, oh my God, Like, what do we do? What do we do?
Yeah.
Well, and all the training in the world can't prepare you for that
100%.
because all of a sudden now you're crouched down under your truck and you got 100 or 200 or 300 mofos coming at you.
Yeah. What do you do?
Eyes wide open, mouth open, like, oh my God.
Yeah, you could know so much, but I mean, at that point, you're just under each second is something different. And
that's where the leaders come out. That's where a leader, somebody will take charge,
Yeah.
But
well, talking about leadership though, because you went into Desert Storm, Desert Shield as a staff sergeant, and you had a handful of people underneath you right there, and you've evolved into, I think you got to first sergeant at one point, and you ended up retiring as a command sergeant major. But I'm curious how your leadership style evolved as you rose through the ranks.
right. So when we came back from Desert Storm, what actually happened is, people move on. They either maybe retire or they say, you know what? I don't want to be around if this happens again. This is not me.
Not for me.
Exactly. I don't want none of this. So you have people leave, people get promoted and move up, people transfer to different units. And for me, the armory is like 5 minutes from my house. That's convenient.
Yeah.
So I stay there and I get promoted to a platoon sergeant. So I do a platoon sergeant gig for a couple of years. And then the first sergeant position became available, which the first sergeant is the senior non-commissioned officer of a unit. And he works hand in hand with the company commander. So they're the top two people in the unit.
Right.
So I put my name in the hat, to that I wanted that position.
Was there an actual hat?
There was, yeah, it was camouflaged. It was hard to see.
Yeah, he missed it, but he's the only one that put a tab near the hat.
They had to throw
He's closest to the pin.
They had to throw.
It's like, it's right here, right? And they're like, well, you got the closest.
They had to throw a black smoke
At night.
There you go. That's great.
So anyway, so I boarded for the position. I got it, and took my passion for training.
Yeah.
So I had 3 units that were geographically dispersed. The farthest one being 2 hours away. The closest one being 1 hour away. Tried to train 250 people to a standard that would accommodate them well in combat, because we were a unit that could be mobilized at any time. So I spent 6 years doing that and got to a point to where it's like, hey, you know what? We're a STRAC unit. We really know how to do our job. There is nobody in the Army that is better than us right now.
Good feeling.
That's an incredible feeling. And the senior NCO of the state said, well, if I got a deal for you.
Like, shit.
Yeah.
It's like, actually, we need to practice a little bit more.
We actually need more time.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'd been taking the school that would promote me to the next higher rank.
Sorry to cut you off, but I remember you studying constantly. He was always at the computer downstairs, and old school.
Is this like the old Mac Square?
It was like an Acer computer type, like whatever window, but there was printer, and he was just nonstop studying, like memorizing, writing, like.
But remember, the dining room table was covered with books.
Yep. It was insane the amount of material that he had and went through.
So I was doing this course before it was computerized. So I'd gotten like a stack of 6 foot of books to study from. Yeah. So it's interesting you remember that.
Yeah, it was nonstop, and it was for a while.
I'd assume I'm going to have to go back to the computer brand you chose, Acer. That came out in like 2013.
Yeah, that was actually, I think, one of our first computers. I think we had a different one.
It's probably I'd assume it was a Macintosh.
But either way, it's just I'm just trying to explain the setup.
My first computer was an Acer, and I think I bought it in like 96 or 7.
It was that green one.
Acer, ACER.
Yep.
They were around that long?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
fuck.
in fact,
all right. Yeah, no, I am.
That's why when you said 2013, I was like, no.
Ours was green.
Yeah, it was a green Acer desktop computer.
It was a green Acer, and then we moved to the other house, and I think I bought another one I don't remember the brand.
Yeah, I just remember the setup, and there was tons of material everywhere.
And we got a flat screen.
Yep. Oh,
Fuck me. 1988.
There we
There
go.
you go.
Yeah, I was wrong. Shit.
Yeah, but he was a little study bug. He just nonstop. That was his life.
That just shows the passion that you had for what you did, and that obviously transcended into your leadership skills and into your men, right? Like that's incredible.
I took extremely serious. I wanted to be the best at what I did, and I wanted everybody that was around me to be the best they could be.
Right.
And it's hard to do collective training with a group of people like that are geographically dispersed. It's extremely hard. So you have to, make a lot of phone calls. You have to do a lot of road driving.
No real emails back then either. Yeah, this is pre-internet, really.
Right. I mean, the internet was evolving, and we did have it, but I always said the face-to-face.
Yeah.
I was not afraid to drive 2 hours to have a chat with you because you failed to do something that you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
No, and I definitely can understand that, because I personally in my work, I much prefer phone calls. Just backfired because now people are like, well, I'm going to sue you because it's not in writing. And so now I'm kind of, all right, I will follow this phone call up with an email in case you try to fuck me later.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, having the face-to-face is definitely, that's keen, right? Like you can send somebody an email, or you can have somebody on the phone, hang up the phone. Whew, that's done. Face-to-face, you messed up.
Yeah. So,
Sergeant Myers is coming in like, oh my God.
So when I'd walk in and I'd say,
why you got to point at me?
He was pointing at David.
But that's the thing is, it's like, okay, you, Sergeant so-and-so, I need to see you in your office right now.
Okay. I'm fine. All right. Okay. I'll see you in there.
but I mean,
that's the power move. I need to see you in your office.
And also, David just shit his
and
pants.
I will be sitting at the desk.
I gotta go.
Yeah, exactly.
but so as we talk about this, so as I leave from 95 to 01, when I left the unit, they were up here. They were cream of the crop, man. They were badass people. They could do their job blindfolded. So guess what? A year after I left, they get mobilized. They're going to Iraq.
Oh, shit.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So I go, you know what? They'll do well.
Right. You had good confidence in what you had done.
They will do well.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're only a year removed. I was like, is this going one way or the other? Is this a good or bad thing?
Yeah.
Like you leave and they're like, it went to shit. But no, it sounds like they went out and they kicked ass.
They did.
Awesome.
So it's a good feeling. It's like a parent, you raise your kids, and then when they finally leave, and you hope they were paying attention,
aside from Joey,
I was like, you got 2 out of 3, man. That's not bad.
That's 66 2/3%.
He has a point.
But so there's a pride, attached to this. And obviously I was very proud. And the interesting thing was one of the guys in the unit couldn't deploy for medical reasons. It was a key position in the unit. So I went back to the unit and said, hey, I want to go in his place. And they're like, really? Fucking A. I got a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this unit.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we'll check. So they had to check with upper commands, and the senior NCO in the state called me and said, yeah. He says, I got something planned for you.
Oh,
okay.
You had to fist fight.
Yeah.
Fisticuffs.
Hand to
But the
hand.
old way with your hands backwards. We throw these weird backhanded punches. Like that rock'em sock'em robots, like pew 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 pew.
We're going to Indian leg wrestle. But
Well, what was the plans for you?
so I'm taking this course to get promoted, which is so in the military, the rank goes from E1 to E9. So I'm currently in E8, wanting to be promoted to E9. So I'm taking this course, as Joey said, the table is covered with books, and I'm always printing and studying on the computer, coming home 7, 8 o'clock at night from work and trying to get this down. And so about 2 years later, this guy says to me, he says, hey, I need to tell you something, but I don't have all the information yet. He says, are you going to be here today? I said, yeah, I'm on a medical review board, so I'll be in the area all day. He says, well, I got to talk to you. I got to tell you something. Okay. So I go in, I'm doing the medical review board. I come back out and I see him and I go, well, what'd you find out? And he says, well, I don't know yet for sure. I'll get back to you. Give me your phone number. I write down my phone number. I think I had a cell phone at the time. Gave him the home phone. I said, well, I'm going to be leaving here shortly. It's a 2-hour drive home. I walk in the door and my wife, Jane, says, well, how'd it go today? I said, oh, it went pretty good. But I said, Dan McComb wanted to say something to me, and he never was able to tell me what, what it was. And she goes, well, I wonder what it was. And I said, well, I don't know. And about that time, the phone rang. Hello? Oh, hi, Dan. How you doing? Al, he says, the command sergeant major for the 185th CSB can't deploy because of medical reasons. You're through the academy. We're going to promote you to CSM, and you're going to lead that battalion into Iraq.
Shit, that's a couple steps, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh shit. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how many steps that is, but it's not one. It's got to be multiple.
Yeah.
Well, and the funny thing is he says, of course, Jane's over there going like, what? So the look on my face was probably priceless, but I'm mission focused, I'm like, oh, hell yeah. They think enough of me to do this, And he says, now you can't refuse to do this.
Right.
Or you're going to have to retire out of the Iowa Guard. And I said, well, I'm not refusing, but I said, what do I do next? Well, he said, you're going to go to San Antonio for a briefing for a couple of days, and then you'll find out what's going on from there. And then I said, all right, thanks, man. Jane goes, what is it? And I go, sit down. And she goes, what? I go, I'm going back to Iraq. She says, oh, when? I said, well, I don't know when, but he says, I said, well, they say I'm going to be in Baghdad and have about 400 troops under me. He goes, that's a lot of troops. And I said, yeah, but it'll be all right. So we go to these meetings in San Antonio, and we're getting all these briefings. We got all these generals, and I mean, it's a big power play. About 6 months later, I get to Iraq. I wasn't in Baghdad. There wasn't 400 troops.
You were in North Korea.
I was north of Baghdad, 30 miles, and had 2,000.
Holy shit.
Yeah, holy shit. And it was like, damn. You lying son of a bitch.
Yeah. Well, now you're the BSD.
You went from getting tricked by Jerry or the fucking recruiter. Now you commanded 2,000 troops north of Baghdad.
Full circle, baby.
Jesus
Good Lord.
Christ. 20 years. What is that, 20 years?
Yeah.
Well, fool me once, shame on you.
Fucking Jerry.
Fool me twice. Still, shame on you.
That's Jerry, that son of a bitch.
So your second tour in Iraq, that was in what, like 2001, 02?
We went there in 03. We got
03?
there. So we're the second wave into
Of
Iraqi freedom.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, it's the Wild West, man. I mean, it's crazy shit.
Yeah.
What do you got? Tell us one thing.
Well, before you do that, I would like a quick recap on where you're at a sergeant to command sergeant.
So command sergeant major is E9. That's the highest you can go as an enlisted.
Okay, so you got the promotion.
He got.
It sounded like it was like a.
So he was E8, and because of a medical board, the guy was like, "Hey, we're gonna streamline you to E9. Don't worry about it. Do you want this? And if you don't take it, you have to retire." And he's like, "I'll take it."
Yeah.
Right.
Well, he's like, I already wanted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not fully studied up. Do I have to take the test? No, I don't have to
they
take the
just
test.
folded it up and go, "Here you go."
I'm ready to rock and roll, so we get over there, and so I meet my counterpart So the unit we're replacing is there. So we fall in on them. Of course, this guy's active duty. He's been in the active Army for 25, 30 years.
Mm.
And so we're talking this and that. And I said, I can't remember his name now. I says, I'm a little worried about this. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I just got promoted a month ago. He goes, what? I said, well, I just got promoted to command sergeant major a month ago. You're shitting me. And I go, no. I said, I'm not worried, but I said, I think I'll fall in on this job and do a good job. I said, I've got a great colonel here that'll help me. I said, I got great NCOs. And I said, I think I've got enough leadership in me that I think I can do a good job. He says, I can't believe they send somebody over here like that. I said, well, the state of Iowa's got a lot of faith in me. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Everything's going to be fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Everything's burning in the background.
Yeah. So my area of operation was about 160 acres big, 2,000 troops. We had 1 million gallons of diesel fuel available. And
here we are paying $4.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So were you still in the transportation side of things when you went back in, or?
So transportation is my background.
Right.
So when you go into a leadership in my position, they try to keep your military specialty in who you're governing.
Okay.
So I was managing transportation, people that transport fuel, transport parts, fix vehicles. We had het drivers, and het drivers are people that transport like tanks. Tanks weigh 60 tons or 80 tons or something.
One Chris Napier. Yep.
Yeah.
And if he loses just 40 of those, if he just loses half a tank, he'll get to shave my beard.
There we go. Just half a tank, Chris. That's all you need.
So, he's already got a quarter tank down.
So yeah. So anyway, what they do is I was promoted into a unit that would have units that provide that perform duties that I was familiar with. Mainly transportation stuff.
Right.
Not necessarily exactly what you did, but items that were related to your specialty.
Right. You're not going into something that was completely outside.
Right.
Yeah,
so we were transporting ammo, fuel, parts, heavy equipment. That's transportation. That was right up my alley. Versus, actually, we had units that did sewing and laundry and showers. So it all kind of fits into a nice little, area there.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in there with infantry and artillery and helicopters.
But that's good though, that, it's like people that perform in a certain area throughout their career. You're a professional, you're an expert at that. And I think that's the route to go. It's like, yeah, hey, here, this is what you're good at.
That's how a successful team
operates.
Yeah. You have one speciality. Yeah.
I'm going to let you torture yourself.
The Woodford, baby.
Specificity.
Yeah. Specificity. There you go.
And we'll take a quick break right now while Chris recovers from a stroke.
Time for some cinnamon rolls.
Oh, God, it was so slow.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, so you have one specialty and somebody else has a specialty somewhere else. So everybody is, good at what they do. They're all special, and that makes a great team. Yeah. That's what I was trying to say. I'm sorry.
Right. So what happened here was, as I ended up just north of Iraq, I had 12 units underneath me that got mobilized from their state to come and occupy the same space with me. Mm-hmm. And that's just because of their job specialty, what they do, kind of a thing. I had 2 active duty units, 5 reserve, and 5 guard. So yeah, it was, the funny thing was the active duty guys thought they could get over on me.
Really?
And little did they know.
No. Fucking Command Sergeant Myers knows what the fuck he's doing.
Tell him how to put his M60 together or M16 together. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, did you have to go reverse the rules like your drill sergeants did and be like, we can't hit our,
As we can hit you, but you look over there.
It's just a matter of, everybody's going to try and get over on you.
Yeah.
If they can. But when you start doing it at that level, you just have to be able to outfox whoever's trying to get over on you. And I had to do that a couple times. And
what was the best way that you outfoxed, buddy?
Well, I had two really good examples.
We'd like to hear both.
Whatever you can tell.
So once again, before I go any further, the interesting thing here is the group that I went to Iraq this time, we didn't lose anybody either.
Really?
Good.
2 for 2.
You said it was Wild West too, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. That's a credit to the NCOs, but yeah, so we had all these details you got to do. And this may sound a little mundane, but you have to provide perimeter guards, live bullets. They're keeping the op 4 away from you.
Op 4 meaning the enemy.
Opposing forces. Opposing forces.
I was like, I know what you're talking about, but I have no idea what op 4 means.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had this guy that says, I said, I got to have these people from you for this detail. Well, he says, I can't. He says, everybody's busy. I can't do that. And I says, well, I got to have somebody from you. So what he didn't know was that I had a guy running a spreadsheet over here that told me who was where, who was providing what, and this and that. So I said, I need you to make a spreadsheet for me. And I'm going to go talk to this guy because he always saying, I can't give you anybody. My people are all busy. So I walked over and I said, well, it looks like to me you got this. And I went down each row and said, da, 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 and he went. But I said, you know what? I said, sounds to me like you got a problem with Guard and Reserve. So I said, tell you what, why don't we just all go home and we'll let you run it as an active duty unit.
Drop the mic. Dropping the mic.
And he says, wait a minute. I said, man, don't bullshit me. I said, we're in this together. I said, we're all active Army right now.
Right.
There's no Guard, there's no Reserve, there's no active. But I said, you're trying to define a difference here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, you need to stop that right now. We got that out of the way. And then I had a first sergeant, which is a big position in the military, was not running his unit very good. He was calling his female soldiers bad names, treating people badly. And I said, that needs to stop.
Right.
So it happened. It kept happening. So I went in and I fired him.
In country?
In country.
How does that work?
You can fire somebody in. Sorry. You can fire somebody in country.
I did.
I was like leaning back.
Do you
in the chair.
lower
I was
their rank and they stay in country? Or do they get sent back?
Well, what had happened was there was multiple events that had happened that were not acceptable to me for a leader to do. So finally, this one thing happened, and I said, "That's the straw that broke the camel's back." And my colonel and I were walking down the street one day, and he says, "There he is, Sergeant Major. What are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to go and fire his ass." He says, "All right, I'll wait here in case you need backup."
Hop in your helicopter.
Yep. I said, "Okay, Jerry." So I go in there and I explain this to him, and I said, "I'm done with you. You're fired. You're relieved of command." He says, "You can't do that. You're a National Guard Sergeant Major." I said, "Guess what, honey? It's going to happen." So
Don't call me honey.
Yeah. So I fired him, and somebody comes about a month later. Somebody says, "Hey, I saw that first sergeant that you relieved." I said, "Oh, where at?" And they said, "Well, I saw him up at Anaconda." I go, "What was he doing?" He said, "Well, he was punching tickets at the movie theater."
Oh my God.
So Anaconda was another camp. It's another place where soldiers stay, like the fob.
It's a huge base.
Right. And these big bases will have extra clicker. I can't even talk right now.
Whiskey Joey.
Whiskey Joey's here. But there's theaters. I actually saw Transformers in a theater in Kuwait.
I remember you telling me about that, or telling us about that, where you're like, oh yeah, we're staying in a school, but these guys have like KFC and Pizza Hut at their base.
Well, it was a different one from that, but yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was working at the theater.
Punching tickets at the movie theater.
Wow.
And a month earlier, he says, you can't fire me.
I would talk shit, but I punched tickets at the movie theater.
Yeah.
That was one of
right
his
there
first
with Chris.
jobs. Yeah,
That's how we know each other.
These guys worked at a movie theater, so.
Yeah.
But we weren't in the middle of a war doing it for the army.
Right.
So
We were getting paid $5 an hour.
I guess the analogy here is, I tried to do the right thing. Or a toxic leader, trying to do the right thing here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're career military and you're going, hey, buddy, you got to stop. Then he didn't. And you're like, well, see you later.
Yeah.
That we're not going to do that for
Or
you.
next up, right? Yeah. Bring somebody else.
I think the takeaway too is, you get so far in your career and you achieve, this height of your career as a leader. And if people don't fall in line, what do you do? Right. And you're going to have to make these kind of difficult, sometimes easy decisions, depending on what it is. But people are going to test you. They're going to test you the higher that you get. People, you're going to see more of that where people are going to be like against you.
Right.
And what do? And you got to be in a position or at least willingness to like make that choice.
Yeah. Make the hard call.
Well, so how I looked at it as a morale issue. So I've got a senior leader that's killing the morale of 150 soldiers, specifically female soldiers.
Right.
Not to include the toxic leadership in the whole unit. That has to stop. That can't happen. Okay, so I'm not a big corporation like 3M or Chevrolet or whatever that, but this is my corporation, and this is what we're going to do. And
for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I did what I felt was right at the time.
You mentioned though, it was like the Wild West. Was there anything that happened that was really like too close for comfort?
Yeah. So Al-Taji, Iraq, was a military base. So we had the west side of it, and the Iraqis, I think some of the Iraqi army still had the east side. So across the street was a ammo dump, which was kind of weird because we were getting, do you guys know what an IED is?
Yeah. Improvised explosive device.
Yep. Well,
okay.
Said it faster.
So they were making improvised explosive devices with the ammo that was across the street from where we were. So we had a unit, an EOD, which is explosives.
Ordnance disorder. Or
disposal.
Yeah.
Almost. You almost got two.
Okay. So we had this unit go across the street to this ammo dump, and they'd collect up these rounds, whatever they were, put them in a pit, and then put a charge on them, and then do a shot, ignite that, and blow these things up.
These like incendiary charges?
Well, yeah, whatever.
Or just
whatever
a grenade?
I don't know if they use C4 or...
Oh, okay.
I don't know what they used, but they called it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
So they put all this stuff in a hole, then put this C4 in there, and then so my phone would ring, or they'd call the headquarters and go, going to be a shot at 1400 or 1500, whatever the time was. Okay. So about that time, then of course everybody would be waiting. Then all of a sudden you hear this, and the windows would rattle, and maybe whatever. I said, boy, that was a good one today. Well, they would invite people over to see this. So here, this hole, every time they made this, blew up this stuff, the hole got bigger or deeper and deeper and deeper.
Right.
And so one of the guys in my unit got invited to go over there and you got to do the shot. You got to twist the handle.
Oh, nice.
So,
like in the cartoons where you're like,
yeah, a little TNT.
yeah, like the Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
So they must have had a bunker made up. I don't know, some of railroad ties or something. And he took his camera, his digital camera, and put it up on the top of this berm. So they go, all right, 3, 2, 1. All of a sudden you hear this and you see it. You see a chunk of shrapnel go, oh. You're like, holy crap. Well, the neat thing is, what they did was they kept a tremendous video library of all these shots. And then they did a Rob Zombie montage.
That's pretty cool.
So all these things are blowing up.
Burn through the witches and bound to the Sam in the back of
That's exactly the song.
That's awesome.
And so I was like, God damn, man, that is like cool shit.
That's
man.
badass.
And but the only other exciting time I had there was when we were walking down the street, and the you could hear a rocket, an incoming rocket, and I'm like, fuck. So I run for cover, and it blew up fairly close to us. But other than that, for the most part, we were actually in pretty safe
areas.
That's where you want to be. If you're going to be in a war zone, you want to be in a more safe area, right?
Well, yeah. And I never said, hey, send me to the front lines.
Right.
But, if that's where they sent me, that's where they sent me. You deal with what you got. So
yeah. To recall the great Pauly Shore documentary. We're in the Army now.
Oh God.
Just kidding. We can just leave that where it lies.
I love that movie.
You bringing that up, I was like, I got to throw that in there.
So, something that I experienced was just crazy. This is like something that still stays with me, but I didn't know, since you're in transportation, if you or even your soldiers at the time experienced. But did you ever get intel that there was an IED on a specific road that you guys were on driving, and then you're sitting there wondering when it's going to go off when you're driving?
So I've got a video at home. Be careful, that's really sharp.
Al just passed David a really sharp.
I was gonna say. So Al has this.
So after
now
drinking
David is
all
stabbing
this
the
bourbon, we're gonna pass around a sharp object.
Yeah, Al has this giant green army green bag here with a bunch of goodies in it, and he's passing around a knife right now.
That's an Iraqi bayonet.
Oh, this is an Iraqi bayonet.
Yes.
This is mine.
Oh, nice.
This is what I carry around for cutting out floor samples and prying up tile. But we got
mid-story here.
The best knife I've ever had. It's my second one because someone stole the first one out of my truck.
That's nice.
So this is
I like that.
Yeah, it's a nice one right there.
That's not a
knife.
That's a knife.
Here's a knife.
That's a knife right there.
That's a wire cutter. You hook that up to the scabbard.
Yeah.
Twist it, and you can cut wire with it.
Crazy. But so we're mid-story here. Let's get back to the story, and then we'll go through your bag of goodies here.
I don't want to get back to the story.
Yeah,
I want to play with knives.
Bourbon, David.
Chris is just like,
I don't know which way to go. I don't want to break it. All right, there we go. Yeah.
You're not going to break the knife.
I think he meant his hand. I think he means his hand.
Didn't I give you one,
steel?
Didn't I give you a bayonet?
Only in basic.
In basic?
Yeah, we did bayonet training in basic.
No, didn't I give you one of these?
Oh, no, yeah, yes, you.
Oh, so you came back with a
that snaps onto a bayonet?
I actually have them all right down the aisle in my office.
No, it'd been interesting if you pulled them out. At one point in the
I'll show you
21 previous episodes.
It would be better for him to pull that out than
I'll
what
show
he
you
normally pulls
everything
out,
I've been collecting for the end of the world here, or for the next world war. There might be a civil. You never know.
Oh yeah. Well, we've already told you I'm coming here if the shit goes down. But I mean, if you have some other goodies in your bag here, yeah.
I do, yeah.
Let's
check out.
You
the
say goodies like it's treats, like edible treats.
These are treats.
He brings his bag, and it's been sitting here the entire time. I've been so curious.
So what I didn't know was for sure where we were going to go with this, but I wanted to.
Oh shit! No, we didn't want to bring that out.
Just a casing, okay.
So I didn't know where we were going to go with the conversation, so I kind of wanted to pack some things just in case. So when I got in, we used to eat meals called sea rations.
Mm-hmm.
this was the tool we used.
It's like the can opener.
Called a P38.
Okay.
And that's what we used to open the cans.
Can you just smash them with hammers?
Yeah. And then these were my dog tags. And I know,
wow.
Oh, cool.
So these are the dog tags I've had over the years. And then
And you're wearing dog tags right now, right?
I've actually, this is a St. Christopher's medal
Oh, okay.
and a St. Michael's medal, but they're U.S. Army.
Okay. Yeah, I heard him smack the pin or something earlier, so it picked up on
That
the
was
mic.
probably
So.
my rock hard chest.
Yeah, that was my second thought. I was like, that's got to be his pecs right there. He just pecked the microphone real quick. He was just like, wham,
Yeah.
like Terry Crews.
So as we talk about this, I look to my mentors or my heroes. These are my dad's dog tags,
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
which I've got.
My bad.
And Chris threw him on the ground.
I did not.
They're bulletproof.
They're bulletproof. Yeah.
So, so as we look at that, so back in the day, when my dad and my grandfather were in, Joel's great grandfather and grandfather, they had a service number. So on my dog tags, you'll see my social security number. Don't remember it though.
7854382219.
8675.
If that's someone's social security number, I'm going to feel real bad.
Okay. I was like,
That's not anywhere close to what's on these dog tags.
How about we cut that out?
So the interesting thing is this little flashlight I bought in 2000.
There was a flashlight on
oh,
there?
that's a flashlight?
Oh, like a little red. Yeah, like, what are those called?
2003, I bought that. It still works.
Never changed the
wow.
battery?
Nope.
Jesus.
They made things differently back then.
Yeah, I get a battery that I never turn on, or a flashlight I never turn on, and the battery's dead by the first time the power goes out. I'm like, ah, and
Yeah,
it's like, pfft.
Who made it? Where's it made?
Probably in Japan.
USA
China.
and China.
Close enough.
Taiwan.
Gotta have a
Vietnamese.
Duracell.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Duracell's it, man.
Duracell.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, these were made a little better.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm just saying,
The old
not to hate on yours, but man, this is solid.
So the interesting thing was, is as I spoke of, my grandfather
Right.
was a POW.
Was he?
He was, yeah.
Oh, no, you didn't say that earlier.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
I missed that. So anyway, he volunteered to fight in World War II, landed at Normandy, and became a POW for about 6 months,
Wow.
which is a big deal.
Yeah.
So recently, I just acquired all of his POW correspondence to his wife, my grandmother, through the Red Cross, just letters, correspondence, different things. So in a box was this.
Oh,
What
shit! I've never seen
What
one of
he's
those in
holding up right
person.
now is a purple heart.
I've never seen one of these up close.
Okay, so in order to get a purple
Do I
heart,
get to touch it?
Are you talking about the purple heart or?
Yeah. Or
Can I
So-
touch it?
Okay.
well, so the neat thing, here's the neat thing is, so I just learned something today was I'd gone through some of my stuff. I thought I'd bring you guys some trinkets, some stuff.
Yeah.
So on a purple heart, what they do is they engrave the person's name on the back.
Okay.
So I had made a shadow box for my dad who earned,
What's a shadow box for anyone that doesn't know?
so a shadow box is a rectangular piece of wood with a felt insert, and then you put in like your ribbons and awards, shooting badges, that sort of.
closed lid piece of glass.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, I'm a carpenter. I've
So
made
my
a couple
dad-
of those.
My dad was in Korea and was wounded in combat and received a Purple Heart. So as I'm looking through these items, I find this Purple Heart. And on the back of this inscribed is my grandfather's name.
Wow.
That proves it to be valid that my grandfather, your great grandfather,
It's
Joel,
heavy. It's very heavy.
I think they're made. I mean, aren't they made of real gold?
Do you know the story behind
Did you know
how he received that?
So
Did you know he had that?
I did not know he had it
So-
till today.
So
Today?
you just found this out.
Breaking
That's what I was trying
Breaking
to
news,
It was
everybody!
like, he was like, I found this today. And I was like, are you getting it? Like, you didn't know it until exactly earlier today.
That's
So I
awesome.
think what happened is because he was a POW, they gave him the Purple Heart because he was a POW for 6 months.
I would assume that that's kind of being wounded in battle, essentially, right? Yeah, because you're going through torture, I'm sure.
Wow.
So that is the medal part of it. So my dad has Purple Heart. My grandfather has a Purple Heart. Of course, I don't.
I'm okay with not having a Purple Heart.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah. That's
from 1944, something like that.
Wow.
Wait, so how did you get that?
So your grandmother, my mother, acquired this one.
Yeah, from her was sent. Okay.
All this stuff. Okay. So she gave it to my nephew, Eric. Would be her grandson.
Yeah.
So when Eric passed away this year, I asked to have all this correspondence given back to me. So when this was given to me, then I see this. So today I open up this case that says Purple Heart, grab this Purple Heart and look on the back, because in my mind, they put the recipient's name on the back and there it is.
It's John's.
So on the back of the other Purple Heart in the shadow box for my dad, your grandfather, is Dick Myers, written on the back of that Purple Heart, just like this one is John Maddox.
That's awesome. Wow. That is awesome.
And you found this out today?
Just today.
Wow.
Today.
I was
That's amazing.
I was blown away. I was totally.
That's so cool.
Let me make sure I get this back to you.
Yeah.
I'm not stealing it.
It's crazy how, like, I mean, I know it's a metal, but like how much weight.
Yeah, that thing weighs. Yeah, you said that, and even when I grabbed it, I was like, "Holy shit, this thing weighs like
that's 3 or 4 ounces.
It feels like a pound.
It ain't cheap.
It's man, that's awesome.
So
got some Life magazines.
So those just listening, we're looking at a really old Life magazine.
Yeah, he just pulled out a big Life magazine.
And by Life, we mean Playboy from the 40s.
Yeah, 19. Well, let me make sure I get it. I want to show you.
You get a little tab sticking out the top there.
Right. I marked the page.
Yeah, there it is.
Nope. Next one. I got 3 of these magazines. And so in this box that I received of all my grandfather's POW stuff, wrong one, was
back to the first one.
Yeah, I guess. So in this box was a Life magazine. And in there was a photo.
All right.
And in the original magazine, this person here was circled and said, "That's our daddy," or "That's our father."
So we're looking at a photo of a group of probably a couple thousand guys standing in front of the Arc de Triomphe
in Paris. That's my grandfather.
Oh, wow. And he's right up front, too.
That's Joel's great-grandfather walking in the front of all these soldiers.
Oh, not even close to the front. In the front.
In front and center.
Front
and center. Holy shit.
That is my grandfather.
In Life magazine.
What is that road called for the Arc de Triomphe?
I don't know.
Man, it's a famous, it's like I want to say it's like the Circa de something, but.
Too bad there isn't something here, that says what this is. But this is from.
That's spectacular. That's got to be
September 18th, 1944.
44? Holy shit.
So
have you already seen this, Joey?
I have.
So I have another magazine that's in disrepair, and it's circled in ink, and it says, "This is our father," which was written by one of my mother or my aunt or my uncle. But that's my grandfather, center mass.
And this has got to be right after. I don't remember the date, but what was it, like June something?
April 44. September 44.
No, not the magazine. The actual. Yeah, it was like
World War II.
World War II. The completion basically of the German the German portion of World War II. Wasn't it like June?
V-Day. Victory Day.
Yeah. What is that day? Isn't it like June 28th?
VJ Day.
VJ Day.
That's what it's called, VJ Day, I think.
Is it? No, I feel like in today's terminology, that just sounds gross.
You have a bad mind.
VJ Day.
So we're gonna look this up while he's doing it. So
September 2nd.
Oh, September 2nd.
Well,
so that
it
was
says from the
September.
September 18th.
So that's just like 2 weeks later. But that's victory over Japan. That's why it'd be VJ Day.
Right.
That makes sense.
So
So we fought a battle on two fronts in World War II.
Yeah.
So that's VJ Day. When's BJ Day?
You're married, so it's over. That was about well, you got married about 2 years ago, so it was about 2 years and 3 months ago.
So knowing my wife is going to listen to this, I'm not saying anything.
I can cut this part out. I will not cut this part out.
So it's VE Day is victory in Europe, and that's May 8th, 1945.
Okay.
VJ
I was a little
Japan.
closer. For some reason, I had it June 28th. So I don't know where I got that from.
So
All right, we're going to we got another magazine. Chris, can you give me the year of that magazine real quick while he's flipping
this
through it?
is July 20th, July 26th, 43.
43. So we got a little bit
this is
older
earlier,
here.
yeah.
So,
We're going to be looking at another
coming
picture
from-
here.
This is from
And
a
this is-
town just east of Red Oak called Villisca, Iowa.
And this is a famous picture, too.
This is a famous picture. This won a Pulitzer Prize along with the flag raising of Iwo Jima. This man's name is Robert Moore. He was a pharmacist in Villisca, Iowa. I shook his hand before I deployed to Desert Storm. This man led a battalion into North Africa in World War II. So he's a pharmacist on Monday, and 2 weeks later, he's leading a battalion into North Africa in World War II.
Jesus Christ. And a battalion is how many people for
400 and some.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like,
So when
here's your Adderall. Now I'm going to go
Now I'm going to take your life.
charge
I'm gonna
North
help-
Africa.
I'm going to help keep your life, and then I'm going to take this person's life.
So as we talk about this, remember I said we talked about the guard units all along southern Iowa. Okay. So these guys join the guard unit. They're making $25 a month for going to guard. They get mobilized. Next thing you know, they're in North Africa. And this guy ran more pharmacy in Villisca, Iowa. When they landed in North Africa, they were 10 miles off of their appointed landing spot.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Oh, shit is right.
Oh, shit. So this is a picture of him coming to the Villisca train station after World War II and hugging his daughter, and that's his wife. So I've met this guy and I've met his son, and it's just a hell of a story.
That's insane.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So we talk
incredible.
about citizen soldiers and what they do, and then to some extent how some people will call them weekend warriors and things like that. But then these things happen, and 75 years later,
You still look back at these pictures and go, holy shit.
Yeah.
The sacrifices these people must have made just for us to be where we're at.
They're regular people doing extraordinary things.
Exactly.
For me to be stressed about a construction job.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. It makes you really realize, compare your life.
It's not that bad.
I got pissed. I got the wrong order at McDonald's. Here these guys are getting 10 miles
Damn it, I
off
asked for
their-
ketchup.
God damn it.
I asked for a sandwich. This is a hot dog.
All right, we got a third Life magazine here.
Right. So this one comes from May 3rd of 43.
Okay.
So as we talk about Robert Moore, the guy I just showed you,
Mm-hmm.
all the units along southern Iowa deployed to World War II. This is an aerial photo of Red Oak, Iowa, which Joel and I come from.
And for anybody listening, this photo is about 4 blocks.
Well, what is it? What are we looking at?
It's probably more. This is the whole town of
I
Red
was
Oak.
joking. It's just not a very big town.
No, it's 6,000 people.
Yeah. So what we're looking at here, this is 2 pages worth on a Time magazine, and it's an aerial shot of Red Oak, Iowa.
Get the side of the plane.
And
in the
then,
picture
then
there.
there's highlighted names of where these people live. The 23 missing people from the Red
no.
Oak Guard unit that are missing,
This is their house.
that are missing in Red Oak and World War II.
So it has names in in the houses or the
Abram,
location
Right.
within Red Oak
Durfee,
of the last
Kennedy,
names
Grove, Thompson.
of the MIA.
Wow.
So Red Oak, so Montgomery County in World War II incurred more losses per capita than any other community in the United States
During World War II.
during World War II. This is an aerial photo, and at this time, 23 soldiers from the Guard Unit, Company M, you can research this, were missing. So they were embedded in a hilltop, and the tanks, Rommel's tanks, were coming at them. They were running low on ammo, water, and food. They had no communications. They had no support. Somebody flew by with an airplane and threw a rock out with a note attached to it. It said, "Get the hell out of there." Basically,
We're going to bomb the hell out of this.
that night, they left out of this mountaintop, single file, came down out of this hilltop, went through German lines to escape capture. And Rommel came through the next day with tanks. Talk about guts.
Yeah, held them off just long enough for them to get out.
Yeah. So that's something that, like I said, the most casualties or most deaths per capita than any other place in the United States during World War II was right there, Red Oak, Montgomery
County.
Montgomery County, Red Oak.
Wow.
So, yeah. So in the archives.
Yeah.
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 So it's interesting that I'm sitting here in Texas talking about Red Oak, Iowa. And it's a pleasure that I've been here talking about Veterans Day and some other things like that.
Yeah. I mean, thank you so much for coming on. Is there, for all the veterans out there, is there anything else that you would maybe want to talk about or anything like that? Like, what do you want to say to all the veterans out there right now that could possibly listen to us?
Well, first of all, thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
I hear that a lot down here, and it makes me feel good. And it's okay to say thank you back for thanking me. I look at that. The second thing is Texas is huge for VA. I have nothing but good things to say about the VA. And I know there's bad things. People have bad experiences with the VA, but I've had nothing but good experiences. Right now, the federal government is supporting the PACT Act. So like I was at Camp Lejeune. I was in Iraq for the burn pits. Joel was in Iraq for the burn pits. There is support and medical for you if you have symptoms. I encourage everybody to follow up on that and get help, medical help if they need it. Go to va.gov and start the ball rolling. Be patient with it. Okay, it's not going to happen overnight. The second thing is
All the time.
let's I want to talk about the suicide hotline. If you're experiencing suicidal tendencies or have PTSD, please contact the VA.
As well as there's a number 988.
Just a quick three numbers.
3 numbers 988.
I wrote it down. 988. Yep. Suicide hotline, select number 1. Text 838-255. You're hearing impaired. 800-799-4889. The VA is there for you, but you have to initiate the call. The PACT Act is huge. There's so many presumptives there. I am currently waiting. I'm registered some things. I've got Camp Lejeune, water. I've got the burn pit. Joel has burn pit. I'm not the only one I know, but don't wait until it's too late. Do it sooner than later. Those are my.
There's support systems out there for you. And if you're going through things, as Al just said, he gave all those numbers. If you have any questions, absolutely get in touch with us. We can definitely put you to where you need to go. Very serious subject. It's a pandemic happening with all of our veterans out there. Again, thank you for your service and everything, but once they're done with the military, your life isn't done. Right. So there are things out there for everybody to go through that everybody goes through. There are avenues to go through to get help.
Yeah. You're not alone, and you feel alone. You feel like nothing's going to help. But people do care about you, and you need to take that first step. And, I really appreciate my dad, Al Myers, coming on and telling his story. I really do feel like this was kind of a mission accomplished today with today's episode. And this is Joey here with Chris and David signing off for Veterans Day. It's been an honor. We've shared some laughs and, the kind of courage that's as real as it gets right here. So to the vets listening, we're in your corner. And to everyone tuning in, keep the legacy alive and the spirit of service strong. And Dad, Allan Myers, you've led from the front. I want to thank you again for sharing your journey. For everyone else, keep rising, keep inspiring, and remember, your story matters. Out.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Take it down.
Talk about the whiskey. We actually have 3 whiskeys.
Yeah, we actually have 3 this time.
Not to be outdone.
Yeah. And 2 of them are right in front of Al. So.
I brought a DD.
Yeah. He's like, I got a driver.
This ain't my first rodeo.
That's smart.
I'll probably leave her with a broken arm. Forcing me to drink all that.
I don't want to wait
For lives
To be over.
no.
I feel like we should play that song every time before we start recording.
Yeah.
That should be our hype song.
Oh.